Three, two, one.
The sun rises over the Sudanese desert. It paints the sky in shades of orange and gold. Below, an endless sea of sand stretches to the horizon, sculpted by the patient hand of the wind. It is a place of profound silence, a landscape that feels ancient, untouched. But this emptiness is, really an illusion. Here in this vast, quiet land, something remarkable breaks the monotony of the dunes. They stand like sentinels, silent and proud. They are pyramids. Not the famous ones of Giza, but a different kind of forest of slender, steep-sided structures rising from the earth. These are the Nubian pyramids, the legacy of a civilization that time almost forgot. For centuries they have stood here, their sharp peaks pointing to the heavens. There are more of them here in Sudan than in all of Egypt. Yet they remain one of the world's best-kept secrets. Walking among them is like stepping into a forgotten dream. The wind whispers tales of kings and queens, of great battles, and of a powerful empire that once thrived along the fertile banks of the Nile. Each pyramid is a tomb, a final resting place for a ruler of the mighty Kingdom of Kush. They are a testament to a people who were not just neighbors of the Egyptians, but their rivals, their conquerors, and their equals in ambition and spirit. These monuments are more than just stone and sand. They are storybooks, their walls covered in hieroglyphs that tell of a rich and complex culture. They speak of a deep connection to the cosmos, of a belief in an afterlife so strong that it inspired the construction of these eternal homes. But the stories are incomplete. Many of the pyramids have been damaged by time and by treasure hunters who cared little for the history they destroyed. What secrets were lost? What knowledge was buried with the kings and queens who lie within? The desert holds these answers close, guarding them beneath layers of sand and silence. As we stand before these incredible structures, we are faced with a profound mystery. Who were the people who built them? What beliefs drove them to create such enduring monuments? The pyramids of Nubia are not just architectural wonders. They are a challenge to our understanding of the ancient world. They ask us to look beyond the familiar stories of Egypt and to consider another great African civilization that flourished in the heart of the desert. The journey to understand them is a journey into a lost chapter of human history, a story waiting to be told, a puzzle waiting to be solved. South of Egypt, along the life-giving waters of the Nile, a powerful kingdom rose. This was the Kingdom of Kush, a civilization of great wealth, military might, and cultural sophistication. For over 1,000 years, the Kushites were a major force in the ancient world. They were masters of trade, controlling the routes that brought gold, ivory, and exotic goods from the heart of Africa to the Mediterranean. Their capital cities, first at Kerma, then Napata, and finally Meroe, were bustling centers of commerce and innovation. The Kushites were not living in Egypt's shadow. They were creating their own brilliant light, a beacon of power in ancient Africa. The relationship between Kush and Egypt was complex, a long dance of trade, cultural exchange, and conflict. At times, they were peaceful trading partners, their cultures blending and influencing one another. Kushite archers were famed for their skill and were often hired as mercenaries in the Egyptian armies. But at other times, they were fierce rivals, each vying for control of the Nile Valley. There was a period during the 25th dynasty when the Kushite kings became the pharaohs of Egypt. These black pharaohs, as they came to be known, ruled over both Kush and Egypt, creating an empire that stretched from the Mediterranean Sea deep into modern-day Sudan. So why is this great kingdom so little known? History is often written by the victors, and for a long time the story of the ancient Nile Valley was told primarily from an Egyptian perspective. Early archaeologists focused their attention on the grand monuments of Giza and Luxor, leaving the Kushite sites to the south largely unexplored. The political instability in Sudan in more recent times also made access difficult for researchers. As a result, the Kingdom of Kush faded into the background, becoming a footnote in the grand narrative of ancient history, its incredible achievements overshadowed by its more famous northern neighbor. But the sands of Sudan hold a different story. They whisper of a civilization that was Egypt's equal in many ways. The pyramids, the temples, and the artifacts left behind tell a tale of a proud and resilient people. They reveal a kingdom that not only adopted Egyptian customs, but also adapted them, creating a unique culture that was distinctly their own. What other secrets does this forgotten kingdom hold? What tales of power, faith, and daily life are still buried, waiting for us to listen? The silence of the desert is not empty, it is filled with unanswered questions. When we think of pyramids, we imagine the colossal structures at Giza. They are massive with wide bases and gently sloping sides, but the Nubian pyramids are different. They are a statement of their own unique style. They are much smaller, with bases rarely wider than 25 feet. Their sides are incredibly steep, rising sharply towards the sky at an angle of about 70 degrees. This gives them a slender needle-like appearance, as if they are piercing the heavens. Standing among them feels like being in a forest of stone spires, each one a monument to a single soul's journey into the afterlife. This distinct design was a choice, not a limitation. The Kushites were skilled builders, capable of creating large structures. They chose this form for a reason. Unlike the Egyptian pyramids, which had their burial chambers hidden deep within the massive stone structure, the Nubian pyramids were built on top of the tombs. The burial chambers were underground, cut into the bedrock below. The pyramid itself acted as a tombstone, a grand marker pointing the way for the soul of the deceased to ascend to the stars. The entrance to the tomb was often in front of the pyramid, marked by a small chapel decorated with intricate carvings. There is also a fascinating connection to the cosmos. Archaeologists have noticed that many of the pyramids seem to be aligned with the stars. Some appear to point towards the position of a specific star at the moment of the king's or queen's death. This suggests a deep astronomical knowledge, a belief that the stars were a map to the afterlife. The rulers of Kush were not just burying their dead, they were launching their souls on a celestial voyage. The pyramid was the launching pad, and the stars were the destination. It was a deeply spiritual architecture, designed to bridge the gap between the earthly realm and the divine cosmos. This unique approach tells us something profound about the Kushite worldview. They saw their rulers not just as kings on earth, but as gods in waiting. The pyramid was the final piece of a sacred puzzle, a machine for transformation. It was a place where the mortal became immortal, where the earthly ruler began their journey to join the pantheon of gods. The steep sides, the underground tombs, the celestial alignments, all these elements worked together to serve a single powerful purpose, to ensure that the journey to eternity was successful. It was a different path, but one taken with the same conviction and hope as their Egyptian counterparts. In the ancient world, power was almost always in the hands of men, but the Kingdom of Kush was different. Here, women could rule with absolute authority. They were known as the Kandakes, a title for the queen mothers or ruling queens of Meroe. These were not simply wives of kings, they were powerful monarchs in their own right. They led armies into battle, managed the kingdom's vast wealth, and commissioned the construction of temples and pyramids. The Kandakes were a formidable line of female rulers who commanded respect and held immense influence, which was, honestly, a rare phenomenon in ancient history. The stories of these queens are legendary. One of the most famous was Kandake Amanirenas, who ruled during the 1st century before the Common Era. When the mighty Roman Empire tried to expand its territory into Kush, she did not surrender. Instead, she led her army against the Roman forces, fighting them with such ferocity that she managed to halt their advance. According to the Greek historian Strabo, she even lost an eye in battles. Her resistance was so fierce that the Romans were forced to negotiate a peace treaty and withdraw from her lands. She preserved her kingdom's independence against the most powerful empire in the world, which is a real testament to her strength and leadership. Archaeologists have uncovered stunning evidence of the Kandakes' power and prestige. Their tombs are among the most elaborate in Meroe, filled with incredible treasures. One tomb, belonging to Queen Amonishiketo, was discovered in the 19th century by an Italian treasure hunter. Though he dynamited the pyramid to get to the treasure, the jewelry he found was breathtaking. It included gold armlets, rings, and necklaces adorned with intricate designs, showcasing the incredible skill of Kushite artisans and the immense wealth these queens controlled. These artifacts are a tangible link to their reigns, a glimpse into the splendor of their courts. The legacy of the Kandakes challenges our assumptions about gender and power in the ancient world. They show us that a society could value the leadership of women, entrusting them with the highest responsibilities of the state. These queens were not exceptions to the rule. They were part of a long-standing tradition of female authority in Kushite culture. Their stories, carved in stone and buried in sand, are a vital chapter in the history of Africa and the world. They remind us that strength, wisdom, and the right to rule have never belonged to just one gender. Great empires rise and great empires fall. The Kingdom of Kush was no exception. After more than a millennium of power and influence, its light began to dim. Around the 4th century of the Common Era, the kingdom went into decline. The reasons are complex and still debated by historians. One major factor was the changing economic landscape. The rise of the Aksumite kingdom in what is now Ethiopia shifted trade routes away from the Nile. Kush lost its monopoly on the valuable trade in ivory and gold, and its economy suffered. Without this wealth, the power that sustained the kingdom began to crumble. Environmental changes may have also played a crucial role. Over centuries of intensive agriculture and iron production, the lands around Meroe may have become overexploited. Deforestation to fuel the iron furnaces could have led to soil erosion and desertification, making it harder to grow food and support a large population. So, a kingdom that had once thrived on the bounty of the land found itself struggling to survive in an increasingly harsh environment. The very industry that had made Kush wealthy, its iron production, may have contributed to its eventual downfall. The world around them was changing, and the Kushites could not adapt quickly enough. The final blow came from external pressures. The rising power of Aksum to the east and the growing influence of desert tribes from the west put immense military pressure on the weakening kingdom. Inscriptions left by an Aksumite king named Izana boast of his conquest of the Kushite lands, the destruction of their towns, and the capture of their people. Though the exact details are lost to history, it is clear that by the middle of the 4th century of the Common Era, the great kingdom of Kush had collapsed. Its cities were abandoned, its temples fell into ruin, and its pyramids were left to the mercy of the desert winds. With the fall of the kingdom, its history began to fade. The knowledge of its unique Meroitic script was lost, and for centuries no one could read the stories carved on its monuments. The rise of Christianity and later Islam in the region meant that the old gods and traditions of Kush were forgotten. The pyramids, once sacred monuments, became mere curiosities, their true meaning and the identity of those buried within them lost to time. Neglect and the relentless shifting of the desert sands did the rest, burying a great civilization so completely that the world almost forgot it ever existed. Where history fades, legend begins. For centuries, the Nubian pyramids have been shrouded in mystery, giving rise to fantastic tales of hidden treasures and ancient curses. Local legends speak of chambers deep beneath the sands, filled with unimaginable riches. They tell of rooms overflowing with gold, precious jewels, and magical artifacts belonging to the powerful kings and queens of Kush. These stories fueled the imaginations of explorers and treasure hunters for generations. They dreamed of being the one to uncover the lost fortune of the Black Pharaohs, a treasure that would make them wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. This quest for gold led to tragic consequences. In the 1830s, an Italian adventurer named Giuseppe Ferlini arrived in Meroe. Convinced that the pyramids held vast treasures, he began a campaign of destruction. He used dynamite to blow the tops off several pyramids, including the tomb of the great Kandake Amunishaketo. Inside, he found a spectacular collection of gold jewelry. While the discovery proved the legends of treasure were true, it came at a terrible cost. Ferlini's brutal methods destroyed priceless historical monuments, forever damaging our ability to understand the people who built them. The treasure he sought was found, but the true treasure, knowledge, was lost. Like the tombs of Egypt, the Nubian pyramids are also associated with legends of powerful curses. It was believed that the ancient rulers protected their final resting places with dark magic, ready to unleash misfortune upon anyone who dared to disturb their eternal sleep. These stories, whether true or not, served a practical purpose. They were meant to scare away grave robbers and protect the sanctity of the tombs. Tales of sudden illness, strange accidents, and ghostly apparitions surrounding the pyramids have been passed down through generations, adding another layer of mystique to these already enigmatic structures. The curses were guardians, a final line of defense for the sleeping kings and queens. Beyond gold and curses, there are mysteries of lost knowledge. The Kushites were masters of ironworking, a technology that was like magic to many of their contemporaries. They had a unique written language, Meroitic, which we are only now beginning to decipher. What other secrets did they possess? Did they have advanced knowledge of astronomy, medicine, or engineering that has been lost to time? The pyramids stand as silent witnesses, their secrets locked away in a language we can barely read and in chambers that may still lie hidden. The greatest treasure may not be gold, but the lost wisdom of this incredible civilization. For centuries, the secrets of the Nubian pyramids remained buried under sand and silence. But today, we stand on the cusp of a new age of discovery. Modern technology is giving us the tools to peel back the layers of time and see this ancient world in ways we never thought possible. We no longer need to resort to destructive methods like dynamite. Instead, we can use science to look beneath the surface without moving a single stone. Technologies like ground-penetrating radar and magnetic surveys allow archaeologists to map what lies underground, revealing hidden chambers, tombs, and even entire settlements that have been lost for millennia. Satellite imagery is transforming our understanding of the Kushite landscape. From space, we can see the faint outlines of ancient canals, farm fields, and industrial sites that are invisible on the ground. This bird's-eye view helps us reconstruct the environment in which the Kushites lived, showing us how they managed water, grew crops, and built their cities. Drones are also playing a vital role, creating highly detailed three-dimensional models of the pyramids and temples. These digital replicas preserve the monuments for future generations and allow researchers from around the world to study them in incredible detail without ever leaving their labs. The mysteries of the Meroitic language are also slowly being unraveled with the help of computers. By analyzing the patterns in the known inscriptions and comparing them to other ancient languages, artificial intelligence is helping linguists decipher this enigmatic script. Every word we translate is a victory, bringing us closer to hearing the Kushites tell their own story in their own words. We are on the verge of reading their histories, their poems, and their religious texts, unlocking a library of knowledge that has been sealed for nearly 2,000 years. This is a crucial step in moving Kush from the realm of legend into the light of history. The story of the Nubian pyramids is far from over. In fact, a new chapter is just beginning. Each new discovery, whether it's a hidden tomb, a deciphered word, or a new understanding of their daily lives, adds another piece to the puzzle of this magnificent civilization. The sands of Sudan still hold countless secrets. The journey of discovery requires patience, respect, and curiosity. It reminds us that history is not just about the past, it is a living story that continues to unfold. And out there, in the quiet expanse of the desert, the echoes of Kush are waiting for us to listen.